Okay, it being 6:01 or something like that, I would like to call this meeting to order, if I could. And
Yeah.
all right. There we go. We're in order. Okay. We'll start with a period for public expression. Would you like to speak to us today?
Yeah, I do have something to say. I looked at the agenda packet and I think you didn't intend to put a few people's payrolls. on
Ooh.
it. Yes,
Okay,
that you better take a look at that.
yeah, I will take care of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take a look at it afterwards. Payroll, that's usually one of the reports we pull. So. Um,
catch.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move forward on the minutes from the last meeting, May 28th. Anyone have any questions or any exceptions to make to those minutes? Do I have a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for May 28th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries. The minutes are approved. Time for the report from the Friends of the Library.
Sure. The Friends met. You may have seen on social media, we took a picture with a big check to celebrate their $10,000 that they raised in 2024. I apologize for this. It appears the port on my laptop is dying.
Oh,
So Ellie will get her, she's been trying to replace my laptop for like a year and a half.
oh,
So, yeah,
Okay.
but I'll jiggle it, as necessary. So the Friends met. They are getting ready to send out their renewal letter. So we mail merged the labels for them and I just need to reformat their letter and then they'll stuff their envelopes and send them out. They're moving ahead with their series of small make a friend, bring a friend, make a friend lunches. The first one will be at Sen in September, and they're very excited about it, and I'm very excited about it. And they're sort of viewing these small events, which will potentially raise less money, as sort of like a rebuilding year. So really the goal is recruitment, because everybody can use more friends. And that's it, and they are on hiatus for the summer. They do not
next
meet,
meeting is.
they do not
September?
meet, yeah, their next meeting will be September, so they do not meet again in July or August.
Well, we're very grateful for their support.
Yes.
It's terrific about the check and the PR. Good. Okay, now we're going to move on to the treasurer's report. Megan, as I guess most of you know, is at the school event today for her son, senior night. So, Isaiah Kelly, you're
Yes.
going to
Yes.
summarize the report for us. Thanks.
Sure. Okay, so looking at the assets, you can see the numbers are what they are. We are pretty much, there's not much of a change compared to the previous month. And as always, our finances are pretty standard. In terms of T-bill transactions on May 15th, we had one mature. We reinvested 600,000 of it into a 12-month T-bill, and 298,000 into a short-term one, assuming that we would need that to pay for the HVAC project. The remaining amount on the mortgage is 3,748,526 and change. May expenses were on the higher side, but part of the reason for that is, of course, phantom payroll fell in May. So for those of you who are like, what is phantom payroll? We do pay everyone every bi-weekly. There are 26 pay periods. Generally speaking, there are 12 months in a year. There are 2 pay periods a month generally, except for twice a month when we have spooky payroll. So twice a year. Thank you. And that's pretty much it. We did receive a tax levy payment mid-May. The outstanding budgeted income is approximately 1.4 million. We did receive, 2 checks from the district earlier this week. So that's not really in the May financials. You'll see that in the June financials. It is not quite the 1.4 million, because one of those checks included, our pilot payment. So, we have most of the money for the school from the district. Now, I don't think we've deposited yet, because we've been busy, but, we will eventually, sooner rather than later, put that money in the bank. We are, as of May 1st, 41.66% of the way through the fiscal year. And we have spent 41.39% of the budget.
Excellent. Quick question, does the school pay regularly every year? Is it usually, about the same?
So it's generally in the same range of time as the school gets the money from, East Hampton and Southampton, because you gotta remember, the
Right,
Sag
right,
Harbor Union
yeah.
Free School District is from both towns. They take their chunk and then they give us our chunk. And that usually sort of corresponds with, people's, when they pay their taxes, right? So when our taxes due May and December. So you usually see payments in June and like January. And then there's like little bits of mopping up, right? Which is sort of the best way I can describe it. So that's sort of how the payments come in. So there is a certain amount of regularity. They do not hold on to our money. They give us our money as quickly as they receive it, because if the district were to hold on to our money, we would actually get the money plus interest, right? So, they don't want to hold on to
How
our
would
money.
you know? How would the library know they're holding on to it?
Well,
You wouldn't.
if our payments are pretty consistent, so like, if we're waiting for a
Right.
payment in June,
And
and we
doesn't
know
come
that the
till-
village has dispersed it, like,
Right,
like,
right.
or not the village,
The
sorry,
towns.
the towns. All right, so that's the financial report. If anybody has any, specific questions.
Any questions?
Just an update to the deposit, it was done today.
Oh, perfect, thank you. So, see, it's already in there.
Sorry.
Are there any questions or comments on this? Can I hear a motion? We need to consider and approve the financial, the report, treasurer's report, and the accompanying documents.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So that's approved. Terrific.
And all the payrolls.
Okay.
Okay, so we can move along. And now we get to the director's report.
All right. Thanks, feedback. Okay. So we are just about ready for another very busy season for the summer. Our summer kickoff is this Saturday. The theme is Color Our World, and we've talked about this. Our color for the Suffolk Cooperative Library tour is John Germain Jazzberry Jam. And the system sent me, because they picked it up at another event, a bottle of Crayola Jazzberry Jam scented sunscreen. Apparently Crayola only made it in one color and scent, and that was Jazzberry Jam. And it's a lot. So, yeah.
Is that this?
What?
Is it that?
No,
Oh,
that's a water bottle.
Wait a minute, did they send you many?
No, they just sent me a big one.
One
Like,
big
it was
one.
at an event that
Oh,
Stony Brook
okay.
Hospital was doing,
Oh.
and they swiped it.
Yeah.
And sent it to me, probably because they took a sniff of it. I don't know about this
What's
either.
that?
Social media team met to put together a schedule, and to do what it is that, we need to do to get our social media up to snuff. Sorry about that, kid. Doesn't seem to want to live its best life. So, or maybe it does, it's haunted. So they are, going to also meet with Noah, who is the marketing coordinator for the Suffolk Cooperative Library System, to discuss how to optimize their efforts. The library is officially enrolled in positive pay, and it's really not as labor intensive as I feared it would be. And actually, it flagged an actual fraudulent item on Wednesday of last week. So we were able to look at it, deny the claim, report it, and move on with our lives.
So it's paying off already.
Yes, it's already paying off.
Right.
How much? The fraud was in the amount of $8,900. For a check that was actually made out for like $49.55.
Oh, my God.
And the craziest part was the check was on my desk to be signed by the treasurer. And I was like, this check isn't even out in the universe yet. So it was a completely fake check that they tried to pass off as one of ours. So positive pay is a good thing. And we're happy to have it. We participated in the annual Hamptons Pride Parade on June 7th with almost 50 Germaniacs marching in the driving rain. Thank you to the trustees who attended, and of course Megan who rode the bike. Buildings and Grounds met to review the Belfour proposal, and we'll get that under new business. Our Spicy Book Club, which is our romance novel book club, was rebranded as the New Romantics. And we are now meeting once a month at Barron's Cove, because if you're going to discuss spicy books, you should have a glass of wine. We had 4 participants, and everybody was very excited about the change of venue, including Barron's Cove, who was happy to host us. Chance's passion project, which I had asked him to take on, and he's really moved forward with it beautifully, is our Missing Pieces collection. So what that is it's a collection of game pieces. So you know how sometimes, and maybe it's just my house or families with kids, sometimes your Monopoly money gets worn out, or you lose your token, or your dice. So this collection, we've asked for donations. We split the stuff up by games. We're currently labeling the drawers, and then it'll be out. And so if somebody needs a couple of extra Monopoly bucks, they can just come and take them. Or if they're missing,
Does that affect inflation?
it might. If they need some Parcheesi pieces, we've got them. So we're very excited to have that kicked off for the summer. Moving to statistics. Sorry, I don't mean to make you all busy by moving this. The one thing that I do want to touch upon with regards to the statistics, we had a very long conversation at the last board meeting as to why our digital collection, our e-collection, was down so much. And that was because when running the reports, it was run for only e-audiobooks, not all of the ebooks circulated in the or digital items circulated in the Libby collection, which is actually more than just ebooks and e-audiobooks. It's some EPUBs and documents and other things. So I updated that April number here, which, as you can see, is much more in line with what our normal circ is, and it is correct for May. And we updated the database form to make sure that we're clicking the right thing when we run that report.
What is the e-reference databases, and how is that different than total e-collection?
So e-reference is databases, and so like that would be consumer reports online, it would be Mango Languages, it would be anybody accessing ancestry.com. So that's the virtual collection of items. So if anybody is doing research and accessing our databases, that is what is captured in that. The e-collection, which is ebooks, films, audiobooks, is really people downloading items for pleasure or entertainment. So that would be like anything out of Libby, Hoopla, Canopy, and Flipster.
I have a
Okay.
question about, so I use the Mango, so is it every time I log in that it gets counted or the time I'm spending on it? How does
It is the number of active logins.
Okay,
So if,
yeah, 'cause sometimes it expires, I gotta re-log in.
yes.
Oh, so I can't feel on.
Yeah, and it's what's really interesting is with regards to Mango, we're starting to get more use of it. We had very flat use to begin with, but it's starting to draw more use. We pay for Mango, we pay for Little Pim, which is kind of like cute panda bear Muzzy. We got rid of Muzzy because nobody was using it. And Little Pim was cheaper as an add-on to our Mango subscription. And we also pay for the American Sign Language add-on. And both Little Pim and ASL are being used, which is great.
Mango is good.
Mango is really good. It's sort of the closest thing to what was Rosetta Stone. So like I personally think it's a much more robust piece of software than Pronunciator, which is what's provided as part of the Suffolk Cooperative collection. So our patrons have access to both Pronunciator or Mango languages.
So do you think that the Mango, the usage of Mango is the reason for this 3,000
Big job.
increase?
No.
From, last month, April 2025 was 552, and now we're up to 3594.
No, so the good, bad, or indifferent. The way the different databases are calculated within the Suffolk Cooperative Library System, it's something called, we call them sort of colloquially, the WAM statistics, which are the Web Access Management numbers. Each one of those databases, depending upon who owns them, whether it's Novell or Gale or EBSCO or whomever, calculate things in a different way. And we're sort of like stuck by the way in which those things are calculated, right? So it's not necessarily always by login. Sometimes it's by how many page clicks, those sorts of different things. When we see large jumps in our database use, generally speaking, that's because most likely somebody is doing a deep research project. And one of those people is probably one of our librarians. So if we're doing deep research for somebody, or oftentimes we'll see an uptick if somebody is working on their family history or ancestry, like that's where we'll see sort of a jump. And it's usually within like the historic newspapers or ancestry or any of those databases related to local history. And there's a slew of them that I can't name off the top of my head, but the ones I can name off the top of my head are like New York historic newspapers, ancestry.
So is the TIND that we got, is that?
TIND is not live yet.
Not yet.
TIND will be live. Oh, I just talked to Catherine about this. I want to say like potentially end of July, because they're still uploading, cleaning up records and doing training.
Can you maintain individual accounts through an ancestry.com? So if you want to get your family history and you want to save that,
Ancestry.com offered through libraries is only offered through libraries for in-library use only. And that's a decision made by Ancestry.com. So they sell a package to libraries who choose to join as part of a coordinated order. With that being said, it's for in-library use only. So you, Michael, could come into the library, sit down at your computer, log into Ancestry.com, do your family history, without having that Ancestry subscription. But if you were to go home and log in, you're gonna hit that Ancestry paywall to sign up.
but if I come back again.
But if you come back into the library, you're like on our,
On your system.
yeah.
So saved.
Yeah.
And is that the same with any of the other subscription-based type of programs that where anybody is able to access?
So with regards to many of the things on library, when you're in the library, you shouldn't have to log in to use them. For most of them, you can use them at home by logging in with your library barcode and your PIN, much like you would to use Libby or to check your library account at home, right? Because it uses um an authentication to make sure you're a library user, right?
So like, say if it was like a New York Times subscription.
Yeah,
or something
so
like that.
for New York Times, like we have. It depends because New York Times Historic is a different database than like New York Times. So if you're asking, can I go to newyorktimes.com and download an article using like
Let's say
a
I want to
library
just read the paper.
to read the paper, that is not something we can provide.
Oh,
And that's sort of
proprietary.
proprietary to New York Times, right? Because they want you to subscribe. If there's a specific article that you need from the New York Times, we can access that and print it out for you. But to print it, we can't print the entire paper for you.
Or you can't access the whole.
We
thing.
can't access like the whole paper as a, yeah. But, and a lot of those types of things are really related to, you know, like paywalls and what different publishers will allow us to have access to or not.
I was just curious as to what you put and, your
Yeah.
preferences for any sort of reading material would be saved or research.
Yeah,
Would be saved, but it's only if you're using it in the library and you're accessing from the library.
yeah, for some things, and generally speaking, those items will indicate on our website, or if you just go directly to library, which is the Suffolk Cooperative e-collection, which used to be called the Virtual Reference Collection, if you're old like me, old in libraries, it'll say in library use only, or if it's available outside of library use. But generally speaking, if there's something that you're looking for, email us or call us and say, hey, this is the article I'm looking for, this is what I need. And, 9.5 times out of 10, we can generally get it for you.
And I just have one other question. You referred to deep research that's performed by library staff.
Mhm.
Can you give me an example of what that is?
Sure. So if somebody comes in and they say something like, I'm interested in learning more about the marine life in Sag Harbor in the 1900s. We would find whatever we might have in print within the library, but then the reference librarian would go ahead and access our databases to provide additional material for that individual. Or even it could be something as simple as our children's librarians going in and assisting with, like school projects or school homework. Sometimes college kids come in and ask us to assist them with research. A lot of times people who are writing books come in and ask us to assist them with research. A lot of people come in asking about the historical significance of their home. A lot of times real estate agents come in and ask us about the historical significance of the home that they're trying to sell. And so we will provide that information.
How
for
deep
them.
is the deep? I mean.
How deep is the deep?
I mean, I'm just curious, when you
as
say
deep as
deep
we-
research, I'm wondering if someone.
So when I say,
They're researching a book and they say, I wanna know about.
yeah, so when I say deep research, I mean like, enough to write a 5-page report, if you will, right? If you want to sort of line it up with like some sort of school assignment. Not like we're gonna write your book on marine life in the 1900s in Sag Harbor for you, but we're gonna assist you as best that we can.
Sorry for the delay.
No, that's okay. And also when I say deep research, it's just more than like, hey, I'm looking for a book on, or could you point me in the direction of, like cookbooks by this particular person, right? So
So
when
it's not too deep.
it's not too deep.
Pretty shallow.
It's not shallow. You know what it is? It's like, you know that part of the pool where it goes from the shallow end? Like it's that slant.
I wanted to ask a question. So the visitors jumped almost 500 from April 2025 to
Yes.
this past month. But I also noticed that the items checked out stayed about the same, the total physical collection dropped. Was there an event that you could account for that 500? I'm just curious. I think it's great and I wanna know what made 500 more visits happen in that month so that we can do it again.
You know, we're getting closer to the summer season, so it's just people are out here. The weather has been incredibly rainy, and when you have kids and it's rainy and it's the weekend, this tends to be the place to be. And
But
then,
not checking
but not checking
materials out.
materials out. Also, it's sort of the time of the year where we have a lot of high school students, more not middle school, but like high school students who are coming here to study for exams and other things. So it's just really because it's May, you're gonna see that increase. Where we have much lower numbers is generally like winter and early spring. And then, you know, May, June, July, August, you're gonna see much larger numbers.
I appreciate this kind of analysis of the statistics, because to me, this is as important as the financial stuff, really.
Yeah.
So I would love if every month, it doesn't have to be this in-depth, but if you could sort of, we can look, but if you can give us your analysis of some of the numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would really appreciate that, because I feel like it's important and I feel like it guides not just the next month, but the direction that the library is going to take with programming or whatever. And
Right, if you're looking for trends that we might not
Yeah.
understand as non-librarians.
Sure.
If you can just point out, okay, just draw your attention to this
Yeah.
item here. And this is something that we should keep our eye on.
Yeah.
and plan for.
Absolutely, we can totally do that.
Yeah.
I can get real granular real quick with the stats if that's what you guys wanna do. So it'll be a balance, right? I will certainly, point out any sort of irregularities. We can talk about stats, but I just ask that, don't let me dither on. Just say, okay, Kelly, we've heard enough about the stats. If I start to get a little too
I think,
blah, 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 blah.
for me, this is
Great.
really important stuff. So I love that we're having the conversation.
And thank you for taking an interest in it. Because I know when you look at this, when everybody looks at this, they're just sort of like, oh, those are the numbers that mean things, right? What it is. So thank you for taking an interest. All right.
Personnel,
No changes.
no changes.
No changes.
No change, no personnel report.
Yeah, in accordance with the Department of Governmental Efficiency, we're furloughing all personnel and we're doing away with the personnel reports.
Okay, but we still need to approve the personnel report every month, even though it says no change.
I'll make a motion to approve the no change personnel report.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Opposed?
Beautiful.
So that passes. Terrific. So let's look at our committee reports if we can. Michael, personnel?
Disbanded.
Oh, okay.
We are gonna have personnel meet before the
We're getting
July.
rid of all personnel except for Wanda.
I will follow up with the personnel committee after the 4th of July weekend for us to schedule a quick meeting. All right.
Committees, nothing. That's it. Done.
A 5-minute meeting.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Finance, Megan is not here, but we have been meeting, and we've done the first round on the review of the budget. Today, we're looking, the board as a whole is gonna take a first look at the budget for next year. But the finance committee did do that, and we'll have, you know, some recommendations and suggestions and questions for you, as we get to it. And we, now let's see, Buildings and grounds, Dan, that was the meeting where we discussed Belfour, so.
Right, so,
So these things all begin to overlap with
right,
each other.
so,
Yeah.
so buildings and grounds, we discussed the Belpro proposal, which we will be discussing in business. Right?
So we'll, that's on the old business and we'll, when we get to it, we'll,
Yep.
we'll need an action
Mhm.
taken.
Yes.
Okay. Policy, long range planning,
We
Did
have
not
that.
did not
Alright.
meet. Outreach,
We didn't,
did meet.
any, scholarship?
No.
nothing Coming in?
No, but, Mr. Hook did reach out to me and said we will be getting another check, so, you know,
It's hard to get moving.
it really is, well, he keeps giving money away, we just can't spend
We
it
didn't
fast
have
enough.
scholarships this year?
No, I think. And I'm not sure why, because we did have a back and forth with the school over it. I think it broke their brains a little bit, that there was no application end date. And I was like, no, it's a rolling scholarship. Everybody should apply and we will, give out as.
Yeah, but even like the adults, people who walk through this building, who maybe want, to
Yeah.
get a certificate or something, so they, I mention it to people, they say, oh, I don't know anything about it. I said, look at the website, come to the library.
It's going to be it's on the list of things for social media
Yeah.
to tackle.
Oh,
Because there are a lot of things that we offer that people don't realize that we offer, so as part of the social media schedule it'll be a lot of us like, like, this is a service we offer, and then, like, once we get to the end of the list of the services we offer, like, we go back to the first one and we're like, just a reminder, this is the service that we offer, right? So it's just constantly making sure we're reminding people, like our museum passes.
I
We
know, I
we have a
tell
ton of
people all the
museum
time,
passes,
really, I didn't know.
like
Yeah.
for parents, like we have a discount code for Splish Splash. We have tickets to, we have museum passes for children's
I
museums.
used the
People
discount code to go to the Playhouse Theater.
The Gateway,
The Gateway, that's one.
which is like such a deal.
It was half off,
Yeah,
so it was $30 a ticket.
yeah,
It was so good.
yeah.
Is there a way to maybe, for someone to go to a morning program, especially at this time of year where parents are coming in and there's special, like jinglings or whatever for year-end things, to make that kind of announcement that this, not only do we have summer reading program, but we have.
The
these
youth
museum
services
passes.
staff does do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
so,
morning programs.
yeah,
specifically?
they're usually invited to morning
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
So we do push in,
Mhm.
at certain times of the year to remind people of things.
Yeah,
We need more of your TikTok commercials, Kel.
I know.
Come on.
What is this Splish Splash one? What do they offer for that?
I don't know. It's on our website.
Also-
Check the website.
He doesn't even remember.
We offer a lot of stuff.
Some things.
Can't rattle it all off the top of my head. Man, you guys got me in the hot seat today.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. I like the engagement. Okay, her.
Park board, so I didn't actually attend the park board meeting this month, but I got Rachel to send me notes. So the board approved the proposal by Sudhir Venkatesh about their Little League shed and to upgrade the shed with surrounding area enhancements. The 5K permit is in the village to be voted on next month's agenda for approval. The scholarship recipient was chosen, it was Paul Rossel.
Roussel.
Roussel, and he's gonna get it actually, tonight at senior night. And their nominating committee put their new slate of officers. Were presented and approved, with Greg Scamoni as president, Lily Pennebaker Hagan as vice president, Janine Riano as secretary, and Mimi Yardley as treasurer.
Okay.
Terrific. Okay, well, that's it on the committees. It's time to go on to old business, and we have only one item, but it's a very big one. And I wanted to start first by, I wanted to thank and recognize all the work that's been done on the HVAC organization of this. I mean, Kelly, I think particularly handled the the circulation of information, getting feedback from you, and I appreciate everybody that gave her feedback. So, I mean, I'm not trying to rush through this tonight, but I do want to acknowledge a lot of work has been done, and I want to thank everybody who participated, because it's a big one. And I think everybody worked well together, and I feel, very good about the results as far as the way the budget was ultimately put together with your support. So with that, I guess I'll turn to you, Kelly, to review as much of it as you think is appropriate.
Um, does anybody have any questions about the summary that you all read, or did that make sense to everyone? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go straight to this sort of HVAC project spreadsheet, because this is where we have some changes that I just wanna make sort of you all aware of. So one of the questions that came up during buildings and grounds that was not included in that report that I sent to you all, because I wanted to send you what buildings and grounds saw, was the train HVAC equipment cost. When we were talking about it, we were very much talking in the $440,000 range. And when you look here, it says 476. So the additional amount of money, which we had talked about, what feels like a million years ago, but was probably 6 months ago, 8 months ago, was that not only were we purchasing the equipment, but we also, at the recommendation of all the individuals who are smarter than me, of which there are many, the years 2 to 5 warranty, which includes replacement of parts, most importantly, the compressors. If something is going to go wrong with the equipment, it's always the compressor, so we want those compressors to be covered. So that's what the additional $36,000 is for, is that protection in years 2 through 5. Generally speaking, when you buy equipment, you get a year. So we wanted to make sure that we had that 5-year. With regards to the Belfour contract, again, it's off the Omnia contract. Their proposal is for about $997,000, which is what we had anticipated with regards to a contingency. Belfour sort of felt like all of the things that they did before getting us this contract is they came out, before we even put like a shovel in the dirt to make sure what is on our as-built is really how it is as built. Just to keep in mind, our engineers work on paper plans. Our people who are doing the actual work have been doing this long enough to go, nothing is ever built the way that it claims to be built, so let's just double check. And we had, as you know, a couple of things pop up. So they're feeling pretty good about their quote, and that we shouldn't have any major like whoopsies. We didn't know that was there. But I did, just sort of say we should consider a contingency of about 10%. With regards to things outside the scope of the main project, that would be our landscaping, which is our planting plan. Figuring in the range of about $53,000. I did finally get a third quote, which was something we were waiting for and we discussed in buildings and grounds. It actually came in more expensive than this. So that'll be a conversation we'll kick back to buildings and grounds. We'll review all those quotes again and see what we need to do. We also discussed the upgrade and or complete replacement of our BMS, which are the controls for our HVAC. Just to keep in mind, the HVAC sort of comes in 2 parts, right? So you have the mechanical equipment. You can sort of think of that as the body, and then the BMS or the controls as the brain, right? So the equipment only works if the brain works. Unfortunately, we got some bad news about that with regards to a complete replacement if we wanted to go with an alternate company. And that is basically the equipment that we currently have in our building is more or less proprietary. So a complete replacement would mean we could not use any of the equipment that is in the building. And the cost for that is like astronomical, much more than we had anticipated spending, like probably close to $275,000. So buildings and grounds will have to meet, and we'll talk about, not replacing, but upgrading what it is that we have in the building with our current contractor. Which is something like we can do. And then, looking to do a full replacement if we decide to do that at a later date. And when I say a later date, I would say 2029 or later. Once we have the building paid off. So that is just sort of where we're at in terms of money, budgeting and funding for this project. With regards to the Belfour proposal, I gave the board members the first 3 pages of that. I think I confused you all a little bit, and I apologize. When Belfour gave us the proposal, all of those other sheets were basically them showing their work, right? So it was like, here's a math word problem, show your work. So the real thing you want to sort of look at is this is the proposal, and then this right here is your bid breakdown. So that's sort of what each section is doing. And as a reminder, what we're doing is we're contracting with Belfour using the state contract or the Omnia contract. And they are in charge of the subcontractors. So we will not be paying the subcontractors directly. What we do is we pay Belfour, Belfour pays the subs. And so I don't want to put words in Dan's mouth, but I believe it is the recommendation of the Buildings and Grounds Committee that we move forward on this.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm happy to answer any other questions you all might have.
Yeah, we need,
I know, I should just told him to take it away, but go for it.
She stepped on your mind.
So, as the chair of Buildings and Grounds, I would like to make a motion that we accept Belfour's proposal on the recommendations of Buildings and Grounds.
we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Uh,
Opposed? So motion passes. We accept the contract.
Wonderful. So I will, just to let you know, before I leave tonight, I will sign that and send it off to Belfour. And they will, get party rocking. They knew we were motioning on it tonight.
And their start date?
Their start date is tomorrow morning at 9, at whatever time the office opens. They will start
I'll bring
completing.
bagels.
You'll bring the bagel. They will start completing,
I
some of the
don't
other
have to
work.
take the day off.
Muffins.
I'll be here for this.
You got it?
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
All right, thank you, Dan.
Okay.
I like
Um,
cinnamon rings.
Actually, it probably won't be tomorrow, because tomorrow is federal holiday.
Oh, yeah.
It might be tomorrow. I mean, you can bring bagels, but nobody's here.
Okay, so are we
Okay.
on to new business?
We're on there.
And new business is very new. It's next year's budget. It's your first look at the 26 budget.
All right, so with regards to the draft proposed budget, proposing an increase of $106,951, which is a tax increase of 4.14%. Again, that's more than 2%, Kelly. How is that under the tax cap? As our discussion every year, and I'm sure the same discussion that happens at the school board meeting, 2% is a really lovely, catchy number for politicians to use. But it's not the reality of the tax cap. So this falls below the tax cap, because of our tax base growth factor. This is still currently estimated. I am using the tax base growth factor, that was used for anyone with any public entity with a July-June fiscal year, like the school. Generally speaking, historically, it's usually the same for anybody with a January-December fiscal year. So I am estimating that we will fall below the cap by about $1,100. The budget once again includes pulling from our reserves for operational costs in order to stay under the cap. We will be using our reserves over the next couple of years to ease the tax increases until it can ultimately be absorbed in the 2030 budget, which is the first budget after our debt service is
But
paid.
just to be clear, that's potentially pulling, not necessarily, it's not automatically pulling,
Potentially.
potentially pulling, if it's necessary.
But I would warn the board, this might be the year we actually do it.
Yeah,
And I say that only because we have been very lucky in that we have received every year some fairly sizable bequests. And then also in terms of staffing, when we've been in between teen librarians or, staff members have left and we've hired new staff members, certain benefits don't start until 6 months after you've been here. So it's just sort of been, we've been very lucky in that we have not had to put on that.
And are there any line items that we should give particular?
Yes, I will get there in a minute, stand by. So you guys wanted to have all the things.
I was calling you good, this is a softball.
Thank you. Just because I love to give this number, if your home is assessed at $1 million, your taxes will go up by approximately $14.70. Which, as you can compare to 2025, similarly, your taxes went up about 18 bucks. And in 2024, it went up $20.35. So we're increasing, but at less of a rate than we have in the last 2 years. Things that you should be interested in with regards to income. I have budgeted zero money for E-rates. That's something that if you exist in library land, and also schools to a certain extent is something we're really interested in right now. It is being discussed at a Supreme Court level, I believe, whether or not E-rate money is a legal thing that should exist. What E-rate is it pays for internet in schools and libraries, or defrays the cost of high-speed internet in schools and libraries. So, not really feeling great, that money will be there in 2026, so we did not budget for it. It is about $6,000. I've also, put in a small reduction in our payments in lieu of taxes. And I did that because we receive a portion of the pilots that go to the school district. And so I just reduced it at the same percentage at which the school reduced it in their budget that they put forward for their fiscal year, upcoming fiscal year. I also put in a small reduction in investment income as a result of the HVAC project. So less money invested, less interest collected. And then also, I mean, I'm starting to think it's something that they have to tell us, but they keep telling us those T-bill rates are gonna come down. And when they start coming down, they're gonna come down quickly. So we just don't want to assume we're gonna be making the interest that we have made in alternate years. In terms of expense. Sorry. Let me go back up. In terms of expenses. Payroll and benefits, you're gonna see a small overall increase, which includes a 4% raise for employees, which is more or less what all the other East End libraries are doing this year. Everybody on the East End is sort of between 2.5% and 4.5%, with the libraries who are doing a little bit more are libraries that are currently undergoing building projects. So it's like emotional support raises for their staff during stressful times. It also includes vision insurance for our staff as part of the benefits package. And that isn't gonna cost us any more money. And why is that? So our insurance group recently changed from MetLife to Guardian. And Guardian is providing us better coverage for less money. So what we budgeted for in fiscal year 2025 for dental benefits will actually, is actually more than what we are budgeting for dental and vision in 2026. So it's not costing us anymore, and it's a nice benefit for, the staff. Cause librarians, glasses, you know, that and cardigans are sort of our thing.
Do you use Guardian for the dental as well?
We are moving to Guardian for the dental, and the reason, and I think I spoke about this at the last meeting, the reason our insurance group is moving to Guardian is because there were tremendous issues with, onboarding for MetLife for, individuals using the MetLife insurance to be able to get a hold of MetLife and work things out, and so it was sort of a nightmare for corporate synergies. It was a nightmare for individuals trying to work with them. We had a very bumpy onboarding. And so, they are moving our entire group, which, just as a reminder, is a cooperative contract with the other libraries in Suffolk County. To Guardian. Which if we look at the plan side by side, it's actually a better plan. And actually the rates for Guardian have been frozen for 2 years. So the rates that we're paying in 2026 are gonna be what we're paying in 2027.
Why do you see a drop in the retirement contribution? Is it different than its salary?
Yes, that would be yes, but then also, as I was looking at the formulas within the, spreadsheet that I use, it was capturing a salary that it shouldn't have captured, so that was also a correction. With regards to library materials, you are gonna see what is for materials, a fairly sizable increase, for the purchase of books. Also a correction with regards to periodicals, we've under budgeted in previous years. And then also an increase to virtual reference, which is our databases. We do pay for a number of databases that are for John Germain library users only. In terms of library operations, you're looking at a huge increase to library programs. The reason we have such a large increase to library programs is a direct result of our strategic plan and survey. People want more programs for kids, more programs for adults, more expensive types of programs. So concerts are a very expensive thing to put forward.
The amount, the 22.4% is only $14,000.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, it seems like it's a lot, but
I
Yeah.
mean, you know, so it's.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was triple that amount.
Yeah.
I don't think we should still apply.
and then also buildings and grounds, you're looking at about a 12% increase, which is of course for maintenance of the buildings and grounds. And then also increases to insurances and utilities.
Your overall increase in library operations is only 8.7%.
Yes. It's, I mean, here's the thing, at the end of the day, if you're looking to stay under the cap, we can only increase the library budget by about $107,000. And $107,000 in what is ultimately a $3.8 million budget is not a ton of money, to do a ton of things. So,
But is it really? I mean, everyone wants to stay under the cap, and I'm sorry for interrupting.
that's okay.
But isn't it equally important, if not more important, that we service the community?
Yes.
So, I mean. We've almost never had any issues with whether we're under the cap or not. Library budget traditionally passes 90+% rate or 80s. You know, I really wouldn't mind seeing a more robust budget.
I think the last time finance met, like we had met and we just the first time we discussed the budget, we discussed potentially exceeding the cap. And exceeding the cap, we could hire additional staff and we could extend our hours. Then the most recent time we met, the conversation was we should stay under the cap because of the current political and economic climate. It might just not be the time to do it. And so I put forward a budget that was under the cap, with the finance committee sort of being of the understanding this will delay us from hiring additional staff and extending our
But
hours.
is additional staff necessarily, and I don't know if this is right for this conversation now, but is that?
I mean,
necessary?
here's the thing, if you hire a full-time person, it's once you tack on hire a professional librarian, right? So once you look at a professional salary for a librarian, right? And then benefits, and then insurances and all of those things, it's like $100,000 a person.
I understand
Yeah,
that. My
um,
question is maybe simpler, is that why do we have to hire an additional person in order to, let's say we doubled the budget as far as library programs, or even tripled it? That's maybe, I don't know if we could do additional programs without adding additional staff.
Well, and so we can with what we have now, because what we're talking about is with regards to programming, basically contracting out for programming. So as talented as our staff is, we do not have enough talent to put together a string quartet, right? We don't, I don't think anybody here plays a wind instrument, so we couldn't, we have to hire somebody for that, right? In regards to, having additional hours for the
Yeah,
library, right?
that I
Yeah,
can
like
understand.
that
Additional
requires
hours,
hiring
then you
additional
need
people.
staff, right? But
Yeah.
does more staff necessarily mean servicing the community better? If it doesn't, then maybe that's not necessarily the way to go.
I think that we currently have times in this building where it is difficult for us when we are busy to provide the elite level of service we would prefer to provide. We can make do with the staff that we have. We are making do with the staff that we have. We are providing services. I don't believe that our patrons feel like we're not providing what it is that we need. But if the goal of this institution is to do what we put forward in our strategic plan, which was based upon our survey results and answers, which was to increase hours, provide more opportunities for programming, provide more opportunities for individuals in the community to use the library and our space. That does require us to be open more times later in the day. And there's still also some of that, if you build it, they will come mentality. So like right now, the only night we can really do programs where individuals who work can attend are Thursday nights, right? We do evening programs on other days during the week, but it's at like 5:30 at night. And if you don't work locally and your schedule is, 9 to 5 banker's hours, you cannot get to that program, which is a complaint that we do get. Dan would love to make a charcuterie board. He can't come here for meats and cheeses because he works till 6, right? So we have two different issues there, right? So we can continue to do what we're doing and do more in terms of programming within the confines of the staff we have and the hours we have, and contract out and maybe have more concerts and bring in authors that may require a cost, and bring in outside programmers to provide programming. But if we wanted to scale that up, and have library staff do more of the programming and provide that programming at different times of the day, right? Like later evening programs, that is not something we can necessarily do.
I guess this is maybe for a larger discussion than another.
Oh, and certainly the finance committee can do it, but the budget that I'm putting forward and the budget that was discussed by the finance committee was standard cap, and, do more with less. And I am confident that this is staying under the cap and doing more with less.
I think if you pierce the cap, I wouldn't wanna do it before the school district does it on one of their budgets. And I think you open yourself up to enormous amount of criticism and, high expectations and demands from your community, because I don't think people want, they love their library, but they don't wanna feel like, what, yeah, you know, it has cost me more in the tax dollars. I think that this library offers robust programs throughout the day and every day throughout the week. I come by and I see lots of, activity. I don't hear complaints from the community. Oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? So I would not go that way for a long time.
I appreciate your suggestions, and also, I was gonna ask, what is the point in the year when it would be known what the school board is intending to do?
We know what the school does in April,
Yeah,
like
they start working in
They-
January.
Well, the
start
thing that
working
occurs to
again.
me is that the type of issues you were raising, Michael, I think are issues that we as a board ought to be talking about on some kind of recurring basis, because really what you're talking about is more programming or possibly changing the way we operate. In terms of the way that relates to a budget process, it's in a sense, it's a little late to be talking about these things now because we're under some pressure, of course, to.
I understand, and I don't mean to sound-
No, I know, but what I'm saying is I'm gonna suggest, and I'll have to remind myself, or you remind me, but I think we need to enter into our planning as a board, looking at certain issues on a periodic basis so that we have a discussion about whether or not we're doing enough programming, not, at budget time, but at early enough so that then that Kelly can dig into it with that.
I just wanna alert everybody that, just looking at the budget, listen, this meets our stated goals as a
Yeah.
board,
Yeah.
right? But I think that this is an area that I think is ripe for change.
And so keep in mind, that's why we have committees and we do committee work. And so, we talked about this as finance committee, before I put forward the budget to the finance committee. And then we reviewed it again, and I'm not sure if were you at that meeting? I feel like you were. And then we talked about it again as the finance committee, and so this is a first look for the board. So it's important that we have these conversations and, finance committee, maybe we can stack that with personnel between the 4th of July, after the 4th of July weekend and the July board meeting to sort of review this again and look at it. But, that's sort of where I'm at, but we should be having a larger conversation always about what it is, this is blinding me, what it is that we're doing, in terms of library service and our strategic plan and how we want to move that forward. And so it's always a balance, right? It's like, these are the things that we want to do. But at the same time, we need to be fiscally responsible, and sort of, we have to balance those things. The other thing that I would just mention is, oftentimes the way it works is like sometimes we become not victims, but victims of our own success, right? So if we start offering, right, more programming, then, we're going to have more people who come, they're going to ask us to do more things. And then that's when we have to talk about hiring more staff, right? Like right now, our teen department is sort of in like a rebuilding year, but I believe strongly in Randall and his skill set, and he's here, like Monday through Friday, because that's when the teens are here, right? Because they walk after school. We don't see teens on the weekends, because I can only assume they're sleeping, until 11 a.m. So glorious, I miss those days. It's just sort of finding like, if it hits a point where, like our teen department becomes so popular that we need to hire an additional staff member or bring in additional coverage for that desk, then that's what we have to do. And fortunately, like we do, we'll figure it out, like I'm very good at math for a librarian. So we figured it out, and I talked to the finance and I talked to personnel and I say, here's what we need to do. This is the amount of money it's gonna cost. It can come from here and, we can massage it into the budget, in the following ways.
I just wanted to ask it doesn't have anything to do with the budget, but as long as we're talking about programming. Is there a way we're signing up for programs through the app now or through, that, I forget what it's called. Is there a way that after that program has been completed, that the library can send an email, a text message, whatever, to kind of ask, what did you think of this program? Is this something you would attend again? So that we are keeping things fresh and we're
So-
keeping things that people want.
So what's really interesting about that, I can check with Ellie to see if we can do that with the current modules that we have purchased through SpringShare and LibCal. One of the things that I do want us to add is something called Patron Point, which allows us to do a lot of that data and a lot of that follow-up. But Patron Point is, it's an expensive piece of software, so I sort of said to Ellie, let's just like put a pin in this for now, let's get through the HVAC project in the summer, because even if we bought it tomorrow, implementing it is gonna take a certain amount of time, and we just can't do that during our summer months, because it's really blinding. But we can do that through.
Yeah,
Is
through
that
the,
something
what, current.
Patron Point.
Yeah.
There
Libraries.
are some libraries who do, there's quite a few libraries that do Patron Point. They are larger libraries
Yeah.
where, they just have bigger
Wondering what the,
budgets.
like, the participation rate is, it's like, even after you visit a doctor, you get
Yeah,
that. And I just
Yeah,
believe
when
that,
when I don't know if you buy something, you buy something from the Gap,
Yeah.
the next
Oh, yeah.
day you have an email, like,
Yeah,
how would you
survey,
rate
yeah.
this? And I think
it's
that would
annoying.
be really great so that we can know that the programs that we're
I find it annoying.
doing are.
Also,
I answer every.
we
Yes, they need to
have
know.
in the past had like a little card that we'll hand out after
Yeah,
programs to say
maybe
like,
it's
hey, how did you do? Some
as
people will
simple
fill
as
it out, some
that,
people
yeah.
won't. We get a lot of anecdotal people where they will come out and they'll be like, this was great,
Yeah.
to the CERT desk, or if it's a library program, to the librarian running the program. Sometimes people will come to my office and say like, this was a really great program, we'd like you to do more of that. So we do get that feedback fairly immediately. With regards to Patron Point, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but it does a lot of different things in terms of, like, for example, like you can congratulate somebody on their library birthday, right? So their library anniversary, like, you've had a library card for a year, like, how's it going? And then we could put a 1-question survey in there, we could put a 3-question survey in there, and somebody could be like, like, I love the library, I only use it for living, leave me alone. Or they could be like, here's something really great. I always love an open-ended question box, because people, if people answer those if they're thrilled or they've got beef, right? And that's like, I'm happy to hear that people love the library. I'm happy to hear that people have a good relationship with the library, but what I want to hear is when people have beef, right? Because that's how
you
we're better.
improve.
Yeah,
Maybe,
maybe.
because it depends, you're asking only a limited
Yeah.
scope of people.
Yeah.
You're not getting perhaps a true
Yeah.
gauge of what you're really looking for.
Yeah.
You're looking at a community-wide response on something, and you're only asking a very, very, very small subset of the community.
But that's also why we push out into the community, right? So when we
That's-
pop
that's
up
great,
places,
yes.
like,
That's good.
you know, when we go to Harborfest, or we're at the farmer's market, you know, for as many people who are like, oh, we love the
Kitchen,
library,
food pantry.
we love this.
That's
It's also
great.
people who are like, oh, I'd use the library more, but guess what? You're not open at night and I work till 6 o'clock at night,
Right.
or, you know,
That's what our
so.
survey talk did for us.
Yeah,
So-
and that's relying on, and this is for the strategic planning and everything, we're relying on the assumption that the survey is the be all end all. And it shouldn't be looked at that way because we had a very, very limited response.
Yeah, but that's not the only thing we looked at, right? So like, when we looked at the strategic plan and the survey was not the only thing that informed the strategic plan. It was also feedback from the trustees, it was feedback from staff, and so while somebody might not wanna fill out a survey and say like, this is my issue with the library, or I'd like you to do that, certainly, people talk to us about things and say like, hey, we'd like to hear this, we'd like to do that. We hear things when we're out in the community, you know, like we try to get as holistic a picture as we can. But that being said, you know, when the Gap emails you to ask you how you like your pair of khakis, you know, they're not asking, you know, like Anna, who doesn't wear khakis, how she's liking her khakis, right? So, you know, like nothing is gonna be perfect. But we endeavor to do the best we can with the information we have. And you know, like open hearts and open minds. And so we do the best we can with the feedback that we get, and we move forward. And to quote, you know, like Anna from Frozen 2, you know, we just keep doing the next right thing. I won't sing the song.
So we don't have to vote on it, anything.
No,
No,
not
no,
quite.
just, this was
Yeah.
for conversation, and I
Yeah.
think that we had some really well-meaning conversation about it. I think we can bring it back to the finance committee. And then, you know, the finance committee and I will put forward, this budget or a slightly tweaked budget, at their recommendation at the July meeting, provided we have the numbers that we need from, the state comptroller to do so, which is that tax-based growth factor.
Yeah. And we need to vote on this next month.
We need to
Is that right?
vote, so we need to vote on it next month. You're gonna see it twice. We're gonna vote on it
Oh.
next month. With the hope that we have the numbers we need from the comptroller.
Right.
And the reason we vote on it in July is I have to have that information for our public notices.
Right.
Which have to be 40 days before our vote, and of course, it takes a little time to get those in. And then we'll vote on it again in August, because the rule is with the state, your tax cap form must be completed before your board can vote to adopt its budget. And so the way our vote runs and when our public notices are due, it just doesn't fall in line with perhaps what is going on a state level, right? So what we do is we do it twice. So number one, we have adopted it and we know what we're doing, and we can get our public notices and the information into our public notices in our 40-day window. And then also we do it in such a way so that we are following tax cap law, which is we submit the form to the comptroller first and then we adopt. Does that make sense? And we've been doing it that way since the tax cap went into place, and Kathy Freedom was here as the director. Because we are a January, December fiscal year, and
Yeah.
that's the way it rolls. And we are not the only library that falls into that sort of predicament.
So if I understand this correctly, the changes that will happen between July and August will be largely out of our control. They'll be based on what we hear from the controller.
Yes,
So this is the time period, the next month, if you have further questions or, things that you're unhappy about as you study this, feed them back to Kelly, so we can look at them and see whether or not we can make some tweaks.
Yeah.
Because after that, it's, the changes won't really be in our control,
yeah.
right? I mean, if we have to reduce something, we'll have to reduce it.
Mhm.
But-
And that's, oh, and so the other thing to think about your budget is this is not like set in stone, right? Like, it's a budget. At the end of the day, what is a budget is your best guess at how things are gonna go, right? But if a situation arises where like, here's an example, like, maybe we have 5 or 6 magazines, right, that are no longer a print publication, like, we might not spend as much money on magazines. And so we might say, okay, let's put that money towards like books or something, right? And so you see that a lot within our budget, when, the external auditor comes in and says, you overspent this line, you underspent this line, and we have all those things in the auditor's report, which say like, oh, why did we underspend this? And then there's that explanation that I say, well, we underspent that because we had somebody retire, or somebody went from having, like family insurance to single insurance, or, there's just things
Things
that
happen.
happen.
Yeah.
And that's every budget. That's the school budget, that's our budget, that's the fire department budget, that's the village budget. And we talk about those at these open meetings and we review them, so that we are being as transparent as possible.
Well, I think I think this year statistics show that we have very consistent
Yeah.
credibility about what we're doing budgetarily. I mean, Kelly seems to be able to deliver at the end of the year based on a budget and to project a budget for the next year that ultimately ends up being very tight, with where we were. And the auditor has confirmed that, year after year, since we've brought in a high level of auditors. So, it's important to keep looking at everything closely, but I think we're on the right path. So, we'll bring that up next month for, the vote. Period for public expression.
Let me say that I can attest to Kelly having had to go to more village meetings of planning board and so on. For the HVAC system, my hat off to her, because sometimes
Yes.
you have to sit there and wait until it's brought up, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Secondly, I want to say the statistics, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's so vitally important in every aspect of the running of the library. As far as I'm concerned, it's a tremendous thing. Thirdly, I will say that don't go over the cap, because the economic situation in the village all over is not good, whether you like to hear this or not. It's over the country, and psychologically, if people hear it over, they're going to have a negative reaction to it. And fourthly, I will just say that if I'm at home listening on Zoom, I can't hear half of you because you're not speaking up. And I can tell you that from tonight. I know my hearing's going, but please remember to talk loudly.
Okay, sing out,
Your
please.
volume, Nada.
And in case someone else is listening in, you never know when I am, and I can't make those remarks at that time. Hey, please, Diane, or somebody, speak up. I'm dying to hear what you have to say. You're all doing a great job.
Thanks, Donna.
Yes, when I look at the programs and so on, I'm amazed at what we are offering in this small village, really. You're doing an incredible job. So have a good evening. The rest
Thank
of
you.
the-
Thank you.
too.
Thanks for coming.
Night, night.
Bye-bye.
Do we have any need of an executive session?
No.
Everybody agrees we have no need for that?
I have a quick question. Is there any interest for someone to fill the new trustee position? Like anyone
Um,
possibly?
nobody has come to me. We will, that is something to think about, as you know, we have 3 trustees seats that are up this year, right? It's 3. So Elliot and Robin can, run for reelection. Michael is termed out, so, our lame duck
We
in the
won't have
end.
you to kick around. anymore?
Quack, quack. So
I'll spy you.
I would just say to all of you as trustees, look around the table and see who in our community is not represented at this table. Think about your connections in the community and who you may know or not know that you might think could bring something to the table, to Michael's point earlier of we don't know what we don't know about people who don't use the library. Again, that sort of falls under the look around the table and see who is not represented here, right? And maybe that's how, we encourage individuals to run for
But
the
it's up
board.
to us as trustees.
Yeah.
To kind of solicit people that we know in the community that would be,
Mhm.
be interested in serving on the board. I think a big problem this community has is that there is many wonderful candidates, but they are snowbirds and they travel there. That's a problem because you have to be here for meetings.
Yeah.
It eliminates a lot of, people. I'm working with somebody.
And just remind me, what is the process by which the general public is aware
So
of whether or not there are even open
it
positions?
goes out into the public, it goes out into the, the public notices that go in the paper.
Yeah,
We make an announcement on our website, we
what
make an
month
announcement,
does that happen?
it's coming up, it's
It's
and
August, you get the
it's
petition
August,
in
basically,
August.
you get your petition in August, so. The exact dates, I have to talk to Mary, because again, the school runs the district vote. And Mary is very precise and very, we follow Mary's schedule.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
What do we do on our website, for example, about this?
on our
It
website,
occurs to
so
me that we ought to be saying, on our website, maybe even physically in the library, hey,
We-
get involved,
we-
you know?
Been in this.
Don't worry about it, Elliot. I'm gonna pull a Trump and say I'm gonna run a 3rd term.
uh,
I think I can do that. Can I do
so
that?
basically,
I take my turn.
it,
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Yeah, I think I'm.
it goes into our
Give you my.
fall newsletter, and our fall newsletter comes out in August.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So there is that knowledge, but
Okay.
it goes on our website, we send out an e-blast, it goes on all our social media, the public notices in the paper, so there's lots of opportunities for people to do it if they wish to do
But
it.
I think the burden really falls on the trustees.
Yeah.
I think Anna would be a great star on a TikTok, for a shout out to, the community for
For sure. Come on
trustee.
down.
Yeah, I think here.
But people, finding people to serve on boards is getting more and more difficult. Look at the school board, like 2nd year in a row now. Candidates run on the
But that's a
boards.
thankless exercise,
Yeah.
serving on the school board. That's tough.
I mean, like
Board.
that's the, whenever I have spoken to someone about running for a library board, whether it was here or other libraries where I have worked, and people come in and talk about it. I do tell them that as a board, the library board meetings are generally fairly succinct. We meet once a month, there's committee work, but we try to keep that. We try to keep the time commitments to a minimum. And the reality of the situation is, like, it's not as arduous of a task as being a school board member or being a village board member or, or a town board member. Like, it really is much less of a lift than perhaps some of the other boards a person
But,
may be on.
Years ago, I'm like the last 5 to 10 years, when there were many school board candidates, you would see signs, all lawn signs all over the place. That ship has sailed, what have that happened here? So, well, people change, nobody wants to put
Nobody wants
themselves.
to be subjected to the scrutiny. Nobody wants to make the big decisions that need to be made. It's tough.
And I mean, and I know this sounds terrible, but you know, a lot of these board positions require people to volunteer and volunteer their time, and volunteerism locally, on a state level, in a country level,
Yeah.
is
way down.
waning. And a lot of the reason that is waning, I don't think it's because we're all selfish little goblins. I think that, you know, like, people are working more, and, you know, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, people retired at 55, or you had one income families, and I just don't think that is generally the reality anymore.
No.
And so it is difficult for people to volunteer their time. You know, I constantly say, if I was independently wealthy, my God, all the dogs I would walk for the animal shelter, right?
Mhm.
I would be awesome, as a volunteer. I don't personally have the time for a lot of it, so. And the people who are doing it are getting burnt out because, you know, like, if you need something done, what do? Ask a busy person, right?
That's right.
Yes, sir.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting at 7:27.
Do I have a second?
I second.
And moved and seconded, all in favor?
I-
You know,
And-
You shut your dirty mouth.